One second.
Hello, this is Raghavendra, a member AMCG Android Mobile Computing Group with Pilani. Today I will be discussing the core aspects of web services. We are actually working on many applications on web services. Almost all the AMCG projects involves in web services. So I am going to give you a brief overview of what web services is, how they are developed, how they are deployed and all those things. So basically, what is a web service? Web service is a software component which is written so that other software components can interact with it based on some common tools like XML or other mechanisms. Why do I want to interact with other software mechanisms? Suppose, say I have a startup idea, but I don't have a huge server to hold all the database of my users. So I want to use Google Authentication API. Now, in this way, I am contacting Google's service through my application server. So this is basically my users are not interacting with Google, but yes, my server side component is interacting with Google. Now these two applications are not talking to each other. These two applications are talking to each other, not the user. So this is the place where web services come into play. Now, what web services, how are web services different from the traditional web applications? Traditional web applications like Java servlets, they take input from the user through JSP or HTML. They parse, they process the input, and they send the response in a specific format that is understood by either JSP or your front-end technology. Now, in web services, what I am doing? I just give you a service. I am not concerned with the user interface. Suppose you write a mobile application, you send a request to me, I process the data and return back in a standard XML format. You use this data for a JSP page, for a mobile application, or some other technology which you may come up tomorrow, like Java Swings or whatever it is. So basically what I am doing is interoperable web services. Web services are basically interoperable web applications. So now I am going to introduce some jargons of web services. Basically there are 4 terms which need to be understood while you are developing or deploying your web services. They are basically UDDI, WSDL, SOAP and XML. Don't bother much about this terminology. We'll be introducing in detail about the next session. But for your basic idea, what is UDDI? It is Universal Discovery and Directory Integration. Actually what it does is, it is like a registry on the internet. Whenever you develop a web service, you register with the UDDI servers so that your application, your web service is now discoverable on the internet. Whoever wants to access your web service would now contact the UDDI server so that they will get information about this. What about WSDL? WSDL basically provides the information about the data that your web service is using, the protocols that you would be using, and some other agreements that usually made before we request the web service. Next is SOAP. SOAP is Simple Object Access Protocol, which uses basically the XML data. This is all when you send the data, when you send a request to UDDI server, or when you get the WSDL description. Further, when you send a request to the service and you get the response from it, all these messages are involved with SOAP, which uses XML. XML is widely supported and is interoperable with all the technologies. So SOAP is so popular. You can use many other technologies than these. These are the basic described in standards of W3C. So how does this all work? First you write a web service, you publish it onto the UDDI. You will have a WSDL which describes all the data used by your application, the protocols and whatever the other information, and the place where the server where I should find your web service. All these are written in WSDL, and this WSDL is hosted on UDDI server. Now using SOAP, my requester, the client or the requester software application will now request the UDDI server for the web service. Now the communication goes on with the SOAP web services. This is just a brief introduction of web services. In the later on sessions, we will be discussing with each of the concepts like WSDL or the UDDI or all those. Wait on for the next lectures. Thank you.